Yeah, this election cycle is relatively boring. I mean, outside of some type of, pure magic, we're headed for another 4 years of Trump is what it is. But it's really strange watching, how the media landscape is slowly but surely evening itself out. Now, Crystal Ball here, she was on MSNBC, and I think I did the video on her before. But what her and the guy Cigar, I know it's pronounced like Sagar or something like that, but I think Cigar is just cooler. All right. So her and Cigar, they're discussing the New York Times piece that was done around Vice President Joe Biden, the presumptive nominee for the Democratic nomination, to run for president against Trump. They're discussing this piece that really it's the most blatantly blue no matter who, blue team all day, son. No matter what, man, we gotta rock the colors, bro. You gotta fly the flag. No matter what, you gotta vote blue, baby. Type shit. That you could ever expect. Like honestly, if you realize if you are where we are with things, right, where you recognize New York Times as a very, 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 very ridiculously blue publication, then you know that yeah, they're happy to hold the water. You have to expect it. So, but what they get into in the later part of this video is around what took place with Kavanaugh and like all these great, like over the past 3 years we've had so many grandiose and gigantic earth-shaking and earth-shattering headlines, particularly in the quest of the establishment ultimately to bring down the president. And it's just like one thing after the next thing after the next thing, just like Teflon. And so many of these things were based on complete nonsense, and honestly the Kavanaugh thing was amongst them. So here we are at a point where, the feminine amongst us, particularly the feminine in the media, and we're going to use Crystal Ball here as the example. They're like, well, they're just waking up and they're just realizing, wait a second, yeah, maybe we should leave this in the hands of the people we pay to investigate things, and the due process and the courts that we already have, because just gathering together a social media lynch mob is not the best way to, sort out justice. But without further ado, let's get into this.
Reid. This is the first time the New York Times has ever covered Tara Reid.
Yeah.
Now, I went back to Julie Swetnick's allegation against Brett Kavanaugh, which is an outright lie, and it was said...
And Mr. Cigar is really where a lot of people could see that it was just like, it's the piling on that the establishment's done, particularly when it comes to all of these different Trump scandals that they want to press so hard. It's the piling on that is just like, ooh, man, you really overdoing it. And that's what they done. Julie Swetnick was that one who I think Michael Avenatti pushed out. Was like, oh yeah, we got all this stuff on Kavanaugh. And it's like where are y'all even coming from? Like straight out of the woodworks.
Third woman accuses Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault. Why was the headline not Joe Biden accused of sexual assault? First of all, that's the number one thing that they start with. Then let's go in, like you said, filing a false police report is a crime. Okay. When I was around in this town during the Kavanaugh, they said that Dr. Ford testifying before Congress was proof that she was not lying, because testifying before Congress is a crime. And who would ever do something that was a crime? Literally.
And do you see that one dimension level of thinking right there? Like, oh, well, just one thought. Yeah. So, I mean, it's illegal to testify before Congress. So why would anybody ever testify before? Why would anybody ever lie before Congress? Like, bro, have you never even seen a movie? People lie in front of Congress all the damn time. What are you talking about? Wait. Why? Well, a multitude of reasons. Shoot, attention could be one of them. A paycheck, a payday, a deal being made. You know, there's a verisimilitude of reasons that someone could lie before Congress. Oh my goodness, we're not humans.
The same people, the same words, line by line. This report is a blatant cover-up for the Joe Biden campaign. And the timing. This thing has been out there for almost a month. Why does it magically just appears? Same thing in the Washington Post. First mention of the thing ever before in the Washington Post. Dropped last night. It is this is the thing. It's a conspiracy. It's an actual conspiracy by these journalists, by these papers, to cover up this allegation until it mattered. And then, whenever it came time to do it, to clear his name. Oh, explicitly. Why were those Trump paragraphs in there? What does that have to do with anything?
That was maybe my favorite part.
That's the thing. They need to tie it to, it's all about Trump. It's all when it comes, the New York Times is an establishment paper. Damn near all this shit is establishment stuff. I still got my eye on you two over there at the Rising. But either ways, you're sitting here asking these questions that are actually rather easily answered because they what's the name? This is the way that the chessboard has been set for generations now. The guy who has the nomination is the one that they put out there, and guess what? All of the nasty stuff gets swept under the rug. You saw the campaign? Come on, man.
Because the bottom line is always, yeah, but what are you going to do? Because on the other side, you got no other choice. Mm-hmm. This guy's way worse. That's the only purpose that serves. And it's just so blatantly obvious what they're trying to do. Number one, okay, we don't really believe her to start.
Here's the thing, Krystal. And you need to understand that it's been blatantly obvious since before the man got in the office. It really has been. You just didn't want to see it because guess what? You were all rocking on the same team, on the same side. You running those circles. So everybody was sitting there tripping on the Trump derangement syndrome. And some folks are coming off of it. Good on you. But that don't mean it's not still out there and it's not still running really strong, really rampant throughout many sectors of, life and society.
But even if you do believe her, what are you going to do? You're stuck with Joe. So suck it up and vote Joe. That's always the bottom line is suck it up and vote Joe.
If you don't believe her.
Yeah, I mean, didn't Bernie Sanders just endorse Joe Biden like nobody knew that wasn't on its way? Come on, man. Because we have to beat Donald Trump. They've turned all their attention onto this man. It's insane that they've completely thrown their basically just handed it to him. I mean, they're right now, there's people who are paid to make sure that, hey, we got to present it as if this can actually be a thing, Joe can actually beat him. But unfortunately, that's just that. Come on, guys, can we please be adults? Oh my goodness, I need an adult.
Just say it. There are actually a lot of people out there on the right who are just I don't believe Dr. Ford. And they were vilified for it. Rape apologists. I mean, truly had reputations destroyed forever. And yet these people, they're dancing around it. They don't believe her. That's the truth. Despite the fact, as you said, in terms of...
And that's the thing. It's as somebody who, when it comes to Tara Reid, you can't bring oh yeah, well, she's credibly accusing him and the like. I really would just prefer a police report. That's it. And I know you can't go back in time and get a police report, but if that's the case, then honestly, if it wasn't the issue, if you're making an issue out of it today, when it happened, you didn't make enough of an issue out of it to go seek out the police and make sure you get something put down on paper. Come on. And that's why I encourage that. Go definitely male or female, definitely go and, get the paperwork if you are assaulted or if you're in a position or if you're in a position like that, go and seek the justice go and seek the justice at the time. Because statute of limitations and bigger fish to fry 30 years later. I'm sorry.
Contemporaneous, in terms of contemporaneous evidence, and as these things go by the standards that they set in their Kavanaugh coverage and during the Me Too era, far more credible from that point of view. And it just demonstrates what, that famous Lindsey Graham moment from all of this is that it was all about power from the very beginning. Is that so much of it was just about weaponizing these things.
And it remains about power to this very second. I mean, y'all guys saw the video that I did with Cardi B talking about, oh, it's all on Trump. It's all on Trump. Come on, for real. This remains about power. This remains about power and influence.
In order to use as power. And line by line, these same media outlets. By the way, where's Ronan Farrow? Where is Jane Mayer? Where are all of these so-called journalism heroes?
We know where Alyssa Milano is.
Yeah, where's Alyssa Milano?
We know where she is.
She's so butthurt about Alyssa Milano. She's so butthurt. But like, yo, that's the way the game go. It really is. She gonna look out for her best interest, and her best interest is aligning behind Joe because, shoot, that establishment darling, right?
What are all these people doing sitting out this story?
Here's what's so sad for me is that I really didn't think that it was all just political games.
No, sweetie, you really didn't think at all. That's the problem. You sat there, took the first, like, oh, you ran on your emotions, you ran on your feelings. You know what? You're gonna do that. Yeah, chick. That's how that works. But like you didn't give it a second. You haven't really given it a second thought. You're giving it a second thought at the moment, but here we are all these months later, and now you're like, oh, wait a second, hold on. Due process is a thing, and to me, evidence should be utmost and paramount. And if you don't have the evidence, I'm sorry, it really shouldn't get any type of oxygen. It really shouldn't serve as news at all. I mean, oh yeah, she told her family members. Okay, cool, but that I don't think that's going to hold up in a court of law.
Didn't. I mean, I believe Dr. Ford, and I believe that you should err on the side of believing women, because look at what Tara's going through right now. Like,
whoa. So you should err on the side of believing women just because of what she's going through right now. What's that? Like, she said she's gonna like what they said. Oh, they actually threw doubt onto her story. You know what? Here's the thing about doubt. It's when it comes to scrutiny, you should be able to stand up to it. Like if trust me, I know my mic isn't the best in the world, right? But hey, guess what? It's what I'm doing right now, so it is what it is. So once again, like the scrutiny and criticism, particularly when you're coming at somebody, and when you want to talk about timing, right? What kind of timing is this? Like, as he's running for, why not when he was vice president? Why not when, what I'm saying? Like the moment it happened. So it's really, like, as far as like believing women just for the sake of believing women, I'm sorry, but it's still a terrible base to come off of.
This is not fun. This isn't a fun thing for a woman to go through. Nobody's like,
I might want to call bullshit on that, primarily because it's attention, and we know how y'all ladies like your attention, right?
have a party and accuse a powerful man of sexual assault and get dragged through the ringer by, and turned into a political football, and have everything I've ever written and said and relationships and financial status
and book deals and like all of this intrigue and people more than likely maybe possibly paying for interviews. I mean, let's be real. It's not as if the media hasn't incentivized this type of behavior. And hopefully as the worm turns and Me Too is complete, it's just, we're patting the grave of Me Too right now. Hopefully that it doesn't zombify and come back again like worse than before.
And, with Tara, it's always brought up that she changed her name because of domestic violence, as if that makes her somehow
wrote something about Russia,
sketchy or fishy, or that she wrote something about Russia. What does that have to do with anything?
Because it's caused to believe that there might be a reason that she'd have some type of other incentive other than the truth as to lay these accusations. That's what it has to do with any and everything.
This is not a fun thing to go through, and we know just by the data and by...
But that, to you, we're going to assume you're a good person, Krystal Ball. But if you're an awful human being, yeah, it's a fucking blast.
Numbers that women are less likely to actually come out and say something than they are to come out and falsely report. And that's not to say that never happens, but it's unusual to happen because... And
there she goes, throwing another bullshit statistic out there. Well, women are far more likely to, not say anything than they are to report. And it's like, oh my God.
Of the scrutiny and how nasty it is and how horrible it is. So I actually think that is the right place to be in. But when you apply the standard so hypocritically, when you clearly have double standards, when you clearly have a political agenda behind it, where it's like, well, this accusation, this is one we like because it goes against somebody we don't like. So this one, we're going to give them all the credibility and all the space in the world. This one's inconvenient, so we're going to bury it on Easter Sunday. We're going to put an accusatory headline in. We're going to do everything we can to dismiss the claim and remind you that, oh, by
And the crazy part is that, you know, with MSNBC and other spaces, like I really haven't followed Krystal Ball's career like that. I don't follow anybody's career like that. It's not like we have anchor trading cards or anything, but it's just like, hey, yeah, now that it's inconveniencing you, you're angry and you're upset, and it's just because it's falling on the side that you didn't prefer. I mean, it's really no different than her. All right. So, guys, with that being said, all the internet stuff. If you like the toss it, like, dislike, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice. You want to get videos like this every single day. Share because sharing is caring. And YouTube and BitChute and like aren't the biggest fans of your boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications and speak. Let me know. What do you guys think in the comments? Like Krystal Ball, strokes definitely. But the deal is just that it's still this grasp onto the emotional angle of it, to whereas she wants to, oh yeah, well, we still need to believe on. No, we don't. We need to believe evidence, okay? We need to believe evidence in whatever it is that a jury of our peers came up with, because as individuals, we do not have the capacity, nor the power, nor the investigative authority to go through any and every claim that someone makes when in particular, when there is financial incentive to it. But you may disagree, and that's what I have a comment section for. Until the next one.